of iSocial Talks. So those that are watching this for the first time, my name is Brian Fanzo, better known as iSocial Fans. I'm actually at the airport leaving South by Southwest as we speak, and I'm in Dallas at my layover, and I, of course, have been doing some meerkatting. And what iSocial Talks is iSocial Talks is my weekly video blog where I kind of just talk about different topics that are important to me on what's going on, kind of in my day-to-day life, and based on tips, tricks, and questions that I get. And really have had tons of information or tons of questions about the world of Meerkat and what happened at South by Southwest. So I thought I would take this opportunity on my layover to Meerkat of iSocial Talks while I'm doing my iSocial Talks videos. This will be a little bit meta, but for those that are watching on the video, on the iSocial Talks YouTube video, here is the Meerkat. So we can flip it around. So we are now viewing my Meerkat through my video. Whoa, it's kind of trippy. So for all those, I'm sure that are aware of Meerkat, if you're watching iSocial Talks, or of course if you're watching on Meerkat, but I kind of found Meerkat for the first time in Barcelona last week, and I was in Barcelona. They sent the app came out, and so I don't remember even who said it, but someone's like, "Hey, Gary Vaynerchuk and Ashton Kutcher are using this new app called Meerkat," and Daniel and I were in Barcelona for a Mobile World Conference. We started looking at it, trying to figure out if there was anything cool going on with this new app. Of course, I do these video blogs. I've been doing these video blogs now for almost a year on a weekly basis. And the interesting part of all of that is I love the video blogs. Of course, I also do Google Hangouts as part of our Twitter chat. So every Monday and every Thursday, I do a Google Hangout where I get to talk on video to the audience. So the idea of a video streaming platform or a video blogging platform, of course, perked my interest, not to mention my favorite new feature of, thanks, yeah, you like my sandals. My favorite new feature that's come out on Twitter in probably a year or 2 years is actually Twitter video. I absolutely love Twitter video. Those of you that watched the previous episode of iSocial Talks, I talked about Twitter video and how I use it to engage rather than just typing thanks. I try to go out of my way to sometimes just do a quick video, say thank you. Gary V is another one that uses video really well on Twitter, as well as just kind of actively just grabbing it for a second, saying a couple words, because Twitter video, for those of you that haven't had it rolled out, I thought it rolled out to everybody's phone already, but I was talking to someone at Twitter yesterday on a panel that I was on here at South by Southwest, and for the most part, they said, Twitter video hasn't rolled out to everyone yet, but it's definitely in the works to almost go to everyone. But for those that don't have it, it's on with the phone app, and if you go to the picture button, it actually gives you the chance to actually hold down and do video for 30 seconds. And so you can do 30 seconds of engagement on video, which is pretty cool. For Twitter, I've used it. I've probably done, I'd say, a couple hundred Twitter videos. I love the idea of quickly engaging and kind of having that conversation. So when I heard about Meerkat, we of course jumped on it. I was there at Mobile World Congress, walked around the venue. Wi-Fi there was horrible, which is a whole nother rant on why Wi-Fi has to really improve, because we're living in this Wi-Fi connected generation, which is funny because I'm taping this now. I'm in Dallas Love Field Airport. I'm recording the iSocial Talks on QuickTime on my laptop, which is behind me here, and I'm using my phone to Meerkat, and the connectivity on my phone using LTE is actually better, was having less problems, so I actually have my phone off of the Wi-Fi onto LTE, because AT&T has done a really good job of kind of keeping my connection for meerkatting. So Mobile World Congress actually got a lot of good feedback about Meerkat. Of course, I was following everybody. Those of you that have followed the group Social Beards, which is a new group that we kind of created with a group of us that kind of came together. a lot of the social beards were some of the first ones on the leaderboard of Meerkat. And so I was excited to use Meerkat here at South by Southwest, and it didn't disappoint. But I will say that the conversation about it and really what people are using it for and how they're using Meerkat is pretty interesting in my opinion, because I think the idea of video engagement, although I'll point down here for those that are on Meerkat, but it looks kind of weird on the YouTube video, I'm sure. But for those that are watching on Meerkat, Meerkat's nice because it does give you the ability to comment on my live videos, so you can add a little bit of dialogue. But one of my favorite things about Google Hangouts, and the reason that I talk about the power of looking in your digital eyeballs, is that you can have collaboration, you can have conversations. And Meerkat is still very one way. It's better than a canned video, but really this is just, you're viewing it and I'm doing all the talking. I love the idea of kind of going back and forth. I like, the Skype version, the Google Hangout where you can have multiple people on there. Thank you. We appreciate that. Yeah. Hashtag social beards or @social beards. We're doing lots of good things. Some new news coming out of that this week for us as well. So, but one of the other things on South by Southwest that I learned was, Meerkat was without question the buzz of the event, and so many people are still trying to figure it out. And it didn't help that the Twitter news comes out about disabling the social graph. And for those of you that aren't familiar with really what that means, what it really means is when a new user signs up for Meerkat now, they're not automatically following all of their Twitter followers who are also on Meerkat. So a new user actually has to go on there and follow everybody they want to follow. They have to click on the leaderboard or click on... when I first signed up on the app, which was the day after it came out, everybody who was already on there that I follow, it auto-followed, which was great, but there wasn't many people on the app when I started. But the nice part about that is it allowed us to use it early on. And I kind of talked about this on my last Meerkat when I was Meerkatting on the airplane. But one of the compelling things about Meerkat and really how people find is I couldn't believe how many people don't follow me on Twitter and are watching my Meerkat sessions. And that's not something I ever expected, but apparently just with so much buzz and with them hitting 200,000 users, a lot of people are signing up and then they're going to the leaderboard and they're following everybody on the top 25 or top 50 or however many they do. And I think I'm right there like in the 18th or 19th spot on the leaderboard for Meerkat, which I don't do Meerkatting to get on that leaderboard. I don't really care about those points as much, but it is a nice thing to know about. That's how people are finding people to follow. I know Meerkat app pushed out an updated app release yesterday that actually allows you to search, but you have to search for the full name of the user. So that's an interesting concept as well, is that how will people find people, and also how do they engage beyond this. And with the live streaming world, which is happening right now on Meerkat, is there's definitely some connectivity issues. But one of the things I think I learned by Meerkatting there at South by Southwest is I was able to connect with my digital audience, my digital community, and I was actually gaining value from you guys that were watching on Meerkat, because you asked me questions. You said, Brian, what did you get out of it? Brian, what sessions are you attending? Brian, did you go over and see this thing? And the other part of that is there was also lots of people that were watching my Meerkat live at South by Southwest, and they actually came and tracked me down where if I was in the expo hall, they say, hey, I knew you were in the expo hall because I was watching your Meerkat, which is kind of crazy, right? We're at an event, but at that event at South by Southwest, it is crazy. It's a madhouse. It's hard to figure out where to go. I walked in the 5 days at South by Southwest. I walked a little over 38 miles in 5 days, and then I cabbed there, right? So the idea of finding your people, reaching out on Twitter to engage. A lot of people, we used a GroupMe app. We used all these different apps to try to get in touch with all the people that I wanted to kind of have conversations with at South by Southwest. And I still didn't get to see everybody, of course, or see all of the sessions. But really what I found out with also Meerkatting is this element of, I work really hard with Rachel Miller to drive a lot of eyeballs to our social business hour hangout and Twitter chat that we run every Monday at 4 p.m. on Eastern time. And, on average, we get between 40 to 100 or so people watching the live video. We get between 200 and 300 people participating in the live Twitter chat every week. But the weird part about that is, we have a guest. We have it planned out. Rachel does all of the questions. There's advertisement. We promote it on Twitter. And yet, I would do impromptu videos, live streams, when I was walking out of my Uber cab. every morning. Those of you that watched on the Meerkat, I know there's lots of you out there that are watching this Meerkat right now that were awesome supporters. I say thank you, and jumped on it. But there was multiple days that I was in the hundreds and sometimes at 300, 400 people watching my live recap of the day and preview of the upcoming day. And for me, that is crazy because, you know, I work really hard and we have an amazing community that tunes in every Monday. But the impromptu, me just turning on the stream is actually turned into this idea where I actually drew more eyeballs than my planned, you know, weekly hangout, which understanding that I think is kind of important because, you know, what elements of this live stream, what elements is this really powerful? And I think it had a lot to do with, you know, the South by Southwest piece. I'm giving people a view and a recap of an event that they can't attend, or, you know, if they're overseas. I made the comment a lot. I had a lot of people that were here from Australia. I had a lot of people that were here from, you know, UK that, you know, we're in different time zones. And I agree. Part of it is this ad hoc, you know, element, and there's also this element of authenticity, right? You know, I'm throwing it up there. I'm just kind of spitballing as I go. But that's kind of how I work, right? Those of you that see my hat, so I got this hat made for South by Southwest. You know, talk fast, tweet faster is my mantra that one person came up to me a long time ago, years ago actually, and I wasn't tweeting that fast back then, and told me that, man, you do talk fast, but you actually tweet faster than you talk. And, you know, I am at the airport here, so there's a little bit of background noise, but I do talk fast, talk a lot. And the other part of it is, you know, being able to stand out in this crowded world of digital engagement as well as live events are, you know, really hard. And, you know, there's this element here where, you know, we can talk at each other, we can kind of all open, collaborate. And I think that's kind of, you know, the best part. And, you know, one of the things I thought was really compelling at South by Southwest was so much of this conversation was about digital, turning your business into a digital front door. And everybody was talking about data and the role that data is the actual foundation and plays the biggest game changer on that. And for me, I agree. You know, I think the idea of digital's role, for digital to work, we have to change our philosophy and strategy, and we really have to put data first. Data ends up being the, you know, kind of the most important element there. So, you know, keep that in mind. As, you know, I thought that was one of my biggest takeaways from South by Southwest. And, you know, using Meerkat and kind of giving people a view. Not only I live stream sessions. I did a video blog like we're doing here where I talked to the camera and give everybody a recap of what South by Southwest was like, my thoughts on South by Southwest. But I also then would go out when I was out at the bar and I was out with a bunch of other influencers. You know, I was Meerkatting a dance-off between Joel Comm and Brian Kramer, right? And there is that element there where all these people tuned in to watch that. You know, 50 or 60 people tuned in to watch this, you know, funny element there. But it's, you know, part of it is they want to, you know, we have this, I called it, you know, we were talking about it today, and I said, you know, it's the reality TV that is truly unscripted, right? I mean, people are just firing up their Meerkat. I've been lucky to, I have a lot of friends on Meerkat right now, and they're all using it in uniquely different ways. Some of them use Meerkat and they go on a walk with their dog, and they talk about, you know, walking the dog. Other ones sing karaoke. Some do it, and they even do it while they're eating breakfast and have conversations. And I think that's part of the fun part for me is there's still a big element of creativity involved in what we're talking about here, because I think when we have an app like this is you still have to stand out, you still have to provide value, but everybody doesn't have to do it the same exact way. You know, and Twitter has 140 characters, right? And I'm one that always argues that I always end up with, like, just as I finish typing, there's always one more character that I need, right? That's kind of how we all need. And yeah, like Steve Mahoney says there, full view of reality. But without constraints, it kind of gets into this area where I think we're going to either over pollute, or it's going to turn into so much noise, we're going to disable notifications. We're going to unfollow people that aren't, you know, providing the value that we kind of seek when it comes to this, you know, live streaming, to this video element. And I think really, you know, the future of the video is, you know, I'm a huge video proponent. I love video. That's why I do these iSocial Talks videos. But something to keep in mind, you know, live events. I think live events are what transforms someone from a newbie on Twitter to an expert on Twitter. And what I mean by that is it allows the someone to actually see that there's other active, engaged people. Because the hardest part on Twitter for newbies on Twitter is to find currently active people using Twitter, right? And I think that's a really hard struggle for everyone when they first get onto Twitter, is they say, how do I, you send a tweet, and then you sit around and you're like waiting for someone to reply back. And not everyone is on there at the same time. And so that's why I was a huge fan of following hashtags. And the reason I love Twitter chats is because then you can tune in every week at a certain time. And at that certain time, you know there'll be other people that are actively engaged about a shared topic that you enjoy as well. But one of the things of this Meerkat that really kind of blew my mind was the element of people that I am not connected with, that don't know me, that are more either tuning in for the app itself. They want to see what the Meerkat app is like, and I happen to be the first one that's on, so they happen to watch it there, or they want to jump on Meerkat to see how other people are using it. I can honestly say a majority of the Meerkats that I've been watching were less about the person and more about the unique way that they were going about leveraging this new technology. And, and I talk about the fear of missing out all the time, right? I mean, this app is sitting in a folder right now on my phone called FOMO, fear of missing out, and that's my apps. Every time I download a new app, so Cyberdust is in there, Snapchat is in there, but I probably should move that out because Snapchat's won me over from that side. So, for that being said, there's also, this is a brand new app. So what did we learn from Meerkat? I mean, I think they did an amazing job of how quickly they came to market, how quickly they became a buzz. I think they also have a great lesson learned that you cannot, for whatever it's worth, you cannot skip the line. You cannot violate policies and procedures. And if your app is only going to be on Twitter, you should probably play nice with Twitter. And the fact that you didn't follow the regulations and you got your knees chopped off because you had to lose the social graph because you didn't follow the rules of everyone else, I think that's something that we have to learn from rolling out this app. And I also think, with the whole news of Periscope and then with Twitter taking the social graph out, the other part of that is that, we can't assume things, and the change happens so rapidly. And even if Meerkat ends up dying fairly soon, there's so many proof of concepts, in my opinion, that have been validated with Meerkat, and it starts with the idea that the actual cellular networks, the live cellular networks, can handle the live streaming, and it's something that we want to use. Now, if you don't have an unlimited data plan, that's a whole other conversation. I'm very lucky. I was grandfathered into the AT&T iPhone data plan, so I'm able to leverage data walking around doing all the things that I'm doing. But there's so many unique ways, and and I'm seeing the comments come up on Meerkat, which is something I love because I do these video blogs every week, but I'm always just talking to the camera, so I don't really get the live feedback as I'm talking. So this is a unique element because I have the Meerkat below my video here for iSocial Talks, and someone said, hey, this is great for live music footage. This is great, but it also has a little bit of the element where I was at Jimmy Kimmel Live last night. And Jimmy Kimmel Live doesn't want you to live tweet the show because Jimmy Kimmel actually wasn't live. It was a recorded episode because it was at South by Southwest. And they don't want you to tweet the show because they want people to actually watch it whenever the paid advertisements are on. Well, I was meerkatting the show, right? The connectivity ended up not lasting long enough for me to meerkat the entire show. But, that's a whole other world where I'm almost circumventing the advertisements on TV. If someone can tune in and watch live meerkat of a TV show when it's being taped rather than watching it when it's live, I think that's an interesting dynamic. Are we going to have to block networking or block video streaming so that people can't do those kind of things? I don't know. There's another element where I think there's this piece of we want to make sure that we're doing everything making. I don't mind when people are stupid. I don't want to prevent people from being stupid. So if you don't have an unlimited data plan and you decide to overuse it, that's your own fault. That's something you have to worry about. But would Wi-Fi then? Would we then have to block streaming in certain events? And if it's a sporting event, would that break the network? Because for me, I cannot stand being disconnected. And if you guys listen to the most recent episode of Smack Talk, the podcast that I host, SMAC, so it's Smack Talk, SMAC Talk. On iTunes, our most recent episode was called Digital Disconnection, and how badly I hated the 8-hour flight to Barcelona because I didn't have Wi-Fi on that flight, and it drove me crazy. But there's also an element there where you have to learn how to tweak and understand how to leverage this. And I would hate for our Wi-Fi networks, which are already constrained, to even be more punished and have less connectivity and less reliability, because people are going to be live streaming, because live streaming, of course, is going to be pulling more data. So, like, there's lots of those kind of questions, but I think what we can learn from Meerkat, and I think South by Southwest is a proof of concept, is these live events, without question, have to engage and include the digital audience. And I say digital audience, not just social audience, because I think having videos, leveraging Twitter, making sure you're also, doing some other, aspects out there. Yes, and if not, I don't like no event should think that just because their event is offline that there's not value of staying connected online. And so Steve on Meerkat just popped up there and said, we're going to have blackouts. So, they're going to black out, so that you can't even get any Wi-Fi connectivity, which I think is even worse, because, I would rather them be able to block streaming or block, full power, full downloads, or full, just like when you're on an airplane, you can't stream Netflix, which is annoying. But the reason they do that is that the Wi-Fi on airplanes is already slow as crap, right? And I think that's something that you kind of have to keep in mind, right? So beyond that, I think we have to think of that for live streaming. But the cool part is that it's a proof that we need to connect our audiences, and people love the raw, authentic elements that is Meerkat, that is what we're doing here. And so, for me, what I've really learned is that, it's another channel, it's another opportunity to engage and provide value and content. But I'm also trying to figure out, where brands can leverage it, where it falls in the whole scheme of, planned video. How do you empower, those of you that don't know me, my background is technology. I was a computer science major, worked for the Department of Defense doing cybersecurity. But one of those other aspects of that was that, I worked in social business and empowering employee advocacy, and that's, one of my biggest passions is employee advocacy. And how do you empower social employees? And this might end up being one of them. It might be the idea that, we need to teach people how to leverage, live streaming and video of, maybe you start videoing and live streaming, events like an all hands meeting, and you live stream it through your Twitter account as an employee, so that you give people a peek into your culture, because, culture is not what a company puts on its website. It's actually what their employees, look, feel, and kind of bring out to the culture. And, part of that, this live video it's so authentic, it's so real. I think we could leverage Meerkat very easily to show and use as a recruiting tool. Like, hey, if you want to see how our meetings run, if you want to see these employees live stream our internal meetings, every Monday, or there's so many different things there. And so, and someone actually just asked on Meerkat, and it was actually the perfect segue for the end of this iSocial Talks, is that, you can record right now, you can actually save the videos to your camera roll, but unfortunately, they save when they save, they get compressed, and the audio quality is really, really bad. And even messes up the video, so it doesn't even match up with the video. So Meerkat has a long way to go on that, but I am one of those people, I love beta testing an app, and I will never complain. I would rather someone bring the app to market in a sense that allows us to test it and give feedback, rather than them trying to perfect it and never really giving us a chance to put our hands on it. So I think, one day soon, I think, with Periscope or Meerkat, one of the big elements is I'm going to be able to save it, because right now, for those of you that don't see this here, I'm going to show you. But I'm actually recording this Meerkat on, and I don't have my shoes on now. It's kind of funny. That's the real authentic truth. But I'm actually recording this on QuickTime on my computer, because I want to upload this to YouTube, because I do this every week as a video blog. And so what I decided to do with that is I actually am uploading. So I'm taking 2 videos of one, because I don't trust the Meerkat video to actually be of value, so that I can put it as an evergreen, everlasting content, as I do with all of my iSocial Talks. And I can't put it on podcasts, so you guys can't search for it on iTunes. So for me, I have to find the value of my time. So for this, I'm live Meerkatting, giving you guys, an insight into this, this real true, from my mouth, from my insights, but I'm also recording it because I want to be able to continue to have that content. I call it upcycling. I'm going to turn this video into a video blog, into a podcast, then I'm going to take it to my team, and they're going to write it into a blog post for me of everything that I said in here, so then it'll be a blog post. We'll probably turn it into a social sharing graphic, And really, all of that was based on taking this one effort of me. I'm spending 30 minutes, at a layover in the airport. For those of you that are, see here, I'm on a layover in the airport, and like for me, that's the same thing with social engagement. People ask, hey, how much time should I spend on social media? And I don't ever give an answer to that, because I don't say you have to spend 1 hour and it has to be every morning. Because do you do that with your email? Do you do that with your text messages? No. But for me, it's all about finding little time windows, little places, little areas that you can actually actively engage. So if you're waiting at a doctor's office, or if you have a layover, or you're sitting in traffic and you're not moving, or all of those places, it gives me a chance to reply back, add value, and leverage Twitter. It's the same thing here, and I think Meerkat has a ways to go, and I think it will be moving forward. And I think when Twitter actually releases Periscope, because Periscope is the app that is very similar to Meerkat that Twitter purchased. It's currently not out yet for us to test since Twitter bought it, but I did sign up for the beta on Periscope's website, and I got confirmation that I'm on the beta list there for them. But one of those things that we kind of have to also remember about these videos is, and it's the same on social media, not everybody is on at the exact same time. So just because you're live meerkatting something and you're live giving a preview doesn't mean people that are on later in the day or at other times also don't want to view that same content. And yes, it won't be live. So I think part of that comes back to what I'm doing here, and I'm recording it for YouTube. I'm meerkatting it so I can live stream and actually get a little bit of feedback, which is is a unique aspect here. But it's exciting, and I think South by Southwest was proof to me that live streaming is just the next edition, and then the forward thought on where we're going to go with more video. And I think video is so powerful because you can't. It's really hard to be not authentic. It's hard to fake video. Some people are really good at it, and you can ask some YouTube stars who are not that are really fake on YouTube. But really, when it comes back to me, is it gives people an inside view, and how do you stand out from the noise? Those of you that wonder what my back of my hat says, I got the hat made for South by Southwest. And so for those that were walking behind me at South by Southwest, it said, "Are you following me?" and then my Twitter handle. And so for me, that was the idea of how do I stand out in the noise if I'm walking in a crowd? How do I connect this digital audience that I'm engaging with? When I presented on stage at my 5 events, I either wore the hat or I had the hat on the actual stage so people could see my Twitter handle when they were in the audience of my events and panels. But one of the things that were interesting is I meerkatted all of the events and panels that I was on, but Meerkat had its own issues, and it's kind of funny because Meerkat audio just kind of hiccuped while I said it when Meerkat had its issues. But the other aspect of that is I want a recorded version of my presentations, a recorded version of what I was doing, so that I can share it later on. I can share it with people that don't have the time to watch this live. So I think we have a ways to go when it comes to leveraging Meerkat for brands, leveraging Meerkat for evergreen content, and creating this what I call upcycling of content. And ultimately, when it comes down to the end of the day, I really love the idea of looking at someone's digital eyeballs and really learning from them from a sense of I can see your passion. You guys can see sometimes I'm spitting on the screen, sometimes my hands are going everywhere, because that's kind of how I am, and I tweet that way, but it doesn't come across always as this authentic, true way of doing I would say engagement, because I want to engage with people. I don't go to social media to find more Twitter followers. I want to find more people, more friends, more conversations that maybe I can leverage, that I can help and build. I talked about it at South by Southwest. If you guys follow me on Instagram, all of my accounts are all iSocialFans. So if it's Instagram, if it's Twitter, my website's isocialfans.com. Because I try to be really consistent as a personal brand coach. It's one thing that I have to try to be is very consistent. But on Instagram, you would have saw, probably 30 selfies that I took with people that I had never met in person yet, but I've had a great friendship for. And I always say that, my dad messaged me when I was doing a live video on our Social Business Hour event, and my dad said, "Son, social media will never replace a handshake." And I replied back on the video, and I said, "I know it won't replace a handshake, but it gives me the opportunity to have more handshakes, and it allows me to turn some of these new handshakes into hugs, meaning I can really make these people my friends." And I think the aspect of transforming these digital relationships is looking them in their digital eyeballs. And so I have a lot of Google Hangouts with a lot of friends. I use Skype. I use FaceTime. I can tell you, I probably do, I'd say 12 to 14 Google Hangouts a week. And then because for me, I'd rather, even than talking on the phone, I don't even have my phone app on my screen. It's hidden in a folder on my iPhone, because I will Skype somebody, I will Google Hangout them, I will FaceTime them, because I love that video, the real element there. And it's also this aspect of the ADH world that we live in, and I'm one of those people right now that is always trying to multitask, always trying to do more things. And when you're on video, you do kind of have that captured audience, you have that captured attention, which I think is really powerful. And so I think my takeaway here as I wrap up this episode of iSocial Talks is really, yes, this app is a fear of missing out app, right? Everybody jumped on it, and it's growing like wildfire, and we're still figuring out what value it has. But when you look at it, I think we learn so much more about how an app comes to market. Do people actually like live streaming off their camera, off their phone, while they're eating dinner or whatever they're doing? Also, it's a good look inside of us, right, as a person, because there's lots of people that I've seen that are on Meerkat that were never usually on video. They were people that weren't huge fans of video. They all of a sudden embraced it and realized, hey, people really love having me on video. And if you look at the leaderboard on here on Meerkat, a lot of the people at the top of Meerkat, I haven't seen on video. P. Cashmore from Mashable, yes, he does a lot of things, but he does a lot of things that are well produced, well polished. He doesn't do very many video blogs or video engagement. He doesn't use Twitter video. But all of a sudden he jumped on Meerkat and was walking around interviewing people. And to me that was really powerful, because I hadn't seen that from Pete in a long time. And I think when we look at it that way, when we look at these unique ways that we can leverage technology like this, I think it's exciting. And I think we need to look at a strategy. We need to provide value. And I guess my last advice and tips for those that are trying to figure out what's a Meerkat, it's the same answer I give when someone asks me, what should I tweet? And I always say, be yourself, provide value, and nobody will ever say you're helping them too much or you care too much. Therefore, if you kind of take that approach to social media, to your videos, to what you Meerkat, I truly feel that your audience will engage and provide value and really find value in what you're providing. The opposite is if you just spam them with more crap, if you get on here to sell them on signing up to your website, if you get in here to sell them and you only Meerkat before your podcast. And I've done that. I do the preview of my podcast on Meerkat as well. I've tried everything. Trust me. If you have more suggestions after watching this video on how I could test out Meerkat, I don't sing, so don't ask that one. At least I don't sing when I'm sober. But give me. I would love to hear more ideas on how I could leverage Meerkat or test Meerkat out to see if you guys like it. But I Meerkatted walking on the airplane. I Meerkatted BizStone's live event. I Meerkatted me walking around. I Meerkatted when I interviewed people on the expo floor. I Meerkatted a demo that I got at IBM Cloud booth. And so for me, it's all about, hey, what works? What can I have value? But I really need the saved version. So, be yourself, provide value. My hashtag, and you guys that know this, my motto here, or my mantra is talk fast, tweet faster. But the hashtag I always use, and I believe it's my social philosophy, it's my personal brand philosophy, is show you care. SHOW, the letter U, care. And the reason I say that is everything you do, if you find ways to show you care, the content, the value you're going to provide is out of this world. So with that, I'm going to actually stop this episode of iSocial Talks. I will continue on the Meerkat as I'll kind of debrief and give you guys a little bit of more information on that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Subscribe on the YouTube. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, iSocial Talks, hashtag iSocial Talks. On Twitter, if you have ideas, if you have questions for me to have on the show on future episodes, as always, you can find all of the information about this show on millennialceo.com/iSocialTalks, or follow me, Brian Fanzo, iSocial Fans on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. You'll see all of my YouTube content there. So with that, I'm going to flip my Meerkat around so you guys can actually see that I'm gonna stop the iSocial Talks. I'm out from iSocial